The Creighton Blue Jays are headed to the NCAA tournament as a number 2 seed, as I'm now joined by head coach Kirsten Bernthal Booth. The Jays coming off of their 10th out of the last 11 Big East tournament titles. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. First and foremost, let's chat a little bit about the Big East tournament. I mean, when you kind of say that stat out loud, you and your team have won 10 of the last 11. Dynasty comes up as one of the words, but what could you, if you're putting into the amount of success that you and your programs have been able to have throughout these last years, what does it mean to you to be able to own that title?
Well, each year's a journey. And I think, I think when you're in it, you don't recognize, maybe when I retire, I'll be like, wow, that was pretty good. But I think at the time, each one's hard, each one's special. And that's the case this year. This was hard in different ways compared to other years. But I can tell you it's been one of the best journeys we've been on. It's such a fantastic group of women who have worked hard and showed up over and over, both in the gym for practices, matches. And, I think as a coach, you want it for them more than you want it for yourself.
I'm curious, Coach, when you say this year with the hard of this year, what were some of the hards that you and your team had to go through?
Well, I think we had a target on our back all the time. So, you're getting everyone's best shot. You're getting a lot of different game plans, people trying to throw different things at you. And I think that's where I've been so impressed with this team is they've been able to kind of weather whatever's thrown at them. Sometimes when you win a game big, you let down, and they've done a nice job of just being pretty consistent with their approach to every single game. And we haven't been perfect, and we don't want to, I mean, I guess we want to be perfect, but that's not the goal. We talk about we don't need to be perfect. We just need to be Creighton good, and they've done a good job of that. But I will say, off the court, they just is not a team that they get along well. They're low drama. They're not getting into trouble. All those things that coaches don't like to talk about that often are distractions during a season. None of that stuff's going on. So not hard in that sense by any stretch.
What is Creighton good?
Creighton good is, taking care of every contact. So again, it might be that we miss a swing, but it was the right decision, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're executing, we're making the right decisions. We're not making stupid errors. We're bettering the ball. We really pride ourselves on being really good out of system. So what does it take to be good out of system? Well, it takes everyone being able to put up a good second ball, and then hitters being smart when they're doing that. So, it's just taking care of each contact as though it's precious. And again, that doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but I think decision-making is a big part of that.
When you look at the season as a whole and then the seasons prior, consistency and culture are two big things that come to mind, especially. How have you, Coach, been able to develop such a positive culture that just breeds consistency year in and year out?
Well, the luxury we have as college coaches, we get to recruit student athletes, right? So I think it starts back when they're in high school of trying to make sure we're recruiting quality people in addition to quality athletes. So if the kid is a really me-centric kid, that's not going to be a really great fit here at Creighton. And so sometimes you make those decisions coming out of high school, and then that permeates with your players. So, if that's what is expected within the program, most people want to fit in. So if the culture is such of like, we're not going to be negative in the locker room. And if it is, hopefully some leadership's going to step in and say, hey, if you've got a problem, you should go talk to coach about it rather than venting in here. And again, it's not always perfect, but when you have strong leadership kind of steering people in the right direction, it can be really impactful. I think the other thing is we value every single player on this team. And I say that from a coaching perspective, but I think the team really values everyone. Part of our success is that our scout side is really good. We're getting challenged every day in the gym. So some of those names that people don't see, those star players, they are making a huge impact on our team. And it's so important that they understand the value to our success.
You alluded to a little bit of the team dynamics earlier, but every single team each year takes on their own characteristics and their own kind of names for themselves. How would you describe the group of players that you have this season?
Well, a lot of different things. And I think, you have different personalities within the different
Yeah.
kids, right? I think they're all good humans. I don't think we have any low character kids. So I would start with that. That's always fundamental to who I want to be coaching, right? But we've got players that lead by strictly by example. They are going to work the hardest in practice. They are going to set a tone. They're going to make right decisions, but they're not going to really use it with their mouth. They're going to do it with their actions. When we've got other kids that are the energy buses, that their mouths are always going, they're going to challenge people. They're going to say, we got to be better. So I think that's one thing that's been good, is we've got a good mix of a variety of different personalities. We've got kids that are smiling when they play the other time, and then we've got serious kids that are intense. But I think if you've got the same personalities with everyone, if you have too many energy buses, that can change, be too frenetic. If you've got too many quiet kids, that can be problematic. So I really like the dynamic of, we've got feisty kids, we've got the kids that will pat people on the butt when they're struggling, we've got a bunch of different personalities that I think bodes well, and I think if someone's struggling, they know who to go to for what type of personality is going to be good to them to build them back up.
Just like a well-knit family, right, Coach? You have to have all the
You
personalities.
can't pick your family, so it doesn't always work out as well, right?
That's very fair. Very fair, Coach. Looking ahead to the NCAA tournament, you guys get to host at DJ Sokol. If someone is watching it and they haven't gotten the chance to experience a volleyball match there quite yet, how would you describe what the energy is like when you get into the arena?
Well, I think it's one of the best venues in the country because it's really intimate. It's nice. It's not bleachers. We've got chairback seating. We've got a massive video board, a great band dance team. I mean, there's not a bad seat in the house. It's small enough, with 2,500 people, that it's really loud. It's one of the few ground up facilities for women in the country. I mean, usually you have people either playing in a basketball facility that maybe they can't fill up, or it's a renovated old facility. I mean, Creighton built this for women's athletics. We've got Terraflex, the basketball hoops come down. So when it is a volleyball facility, it is a volleyball facility, just as it is a basketball facility when we use it for women's basketball. And, I think we just feel so grateful that we had some donors that stepped up and said, hey, we want to do something for women's athletics in addition to men's athletics.
And it really is. I've been there for a couple of Big East tournament titles, and the fans come out. And I mean, Omaha loves volleyball. That's one thing for sure. What's the energy of the fans like?
Yeah, it's continued to grow. I've been here a long time, 22 years, and, we were playing in front of 50 fans in a 9,000 seat arena when I started. And so it's been really cool to see people invested. And, you get all these emails and reaches out on social media of people that are truly invested in our sport. And you hear that. And, it's a neutral site, right, from a PA standpoint for the NCAA tournament. And it's fun. Our PA announcers like, hey, you guys got to do these things that I normally do. So, it's fun to see the engagement of people trying to keep all those traditions going.
Coach, when you say it right there, 22 years that you've been at Creighton. I know that when we first started, you mentioned maybe when you retire, you'll have moments to reflect, but have you had any moments, especially this season, to kind of just take a deep breath and inhale all of the good that you've created and what you've been able to achieve throughout your 22 years?
I think sometimes you try to remind yourself to do that. I'll have a friend or something reach out and say, you need to stop for a second. And I would say it's not that I look back and say, gosh, 22 years ago. I mean, I have those moments sometimes, but I will say within a season, what I try to talk to our staff about is being able to be grateful for what an incredible team we currently have. And what I mean by that is we've all had those years as coaches when you're dealing with just struggles on your team. If it's personality conflicts with you, or personality conflicts, or kids making mistakes off the court, that's part of coaching some years. And we've been really fortunate for several years that has not gone on. And I try to remind our staff, like, let's not take for granted that our time is getting spent coaching and enjoying these women and trying to make us better on the court as compared to dealing with off-court stuff that a lot of programs have to deal with.
I love that. Let's chat a little business now, Coach, because you guys do have a game coming up. You and your team will take on South Dakota. So scouting the game a little bit, what are you looking forward to in this NCAA tournament game? What do you and your team, what are you ensuring that you guys are coming in prepared to do?
Well, South Dakota is a great team this year and a traditional powerhouse. Good friends with the coaches up there, have the utmost respect. Tons of Nebraska kids on the team. I mean, Kendra coached some of the kids last year in club. I coached one of the players when she was little. So like, we've got a lot of personal connections to this team. The South Dakota traditionally, they know how to win. They win a ton of games. They're very disciplined. I think that's one of the things that we've talked to the players about. They're not going to have miscues. They're not going to make stupid errors. You're going to have to earn points. We know that we're going to be ready for a dog fight with a team that, is going to come in swinging for the fences and going for it. And they've got some players that I think can step up in those type of atmospheres. So we know we're going to need to be ready against a very good team.
Coach, we are so excited to watch you take on South Dakota. Thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck the rest of the way. And be sure you are tuning into ESPN Plus Thursday, December 5th at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time to catch the Creighton Blue Jays taking on South Dakota in the NCAA tournament.